interesting that the Leader of the Opposition lectures this parliament about the work that they have done to strengthen the laws and to strengthen the problems, whereas it's actually worse now than it's ever been before. That report that you talked about, the Trevor Riley report, that was done in 2019. We're now in 2024. Things are worse now than they've ever been before. You've had 8 years to fix all these problems and you have failed miserably, and yet here you are pleading with us to change the laws, to strengthen them and not weaken them. None of this makes sense. It really doesn't. Madam Speaker, the newly elected CLP government is delivering on its commitment to Territorians to reduce crime by giving the police the powers that they need to make the community safer. This legislation is part of a suite of new laws we have debated in Parliament during our first sittings and addresses nuisance public drinking and problem drunks who cause antisocial behaviour and alcohol fuel harm. The new nuisance public drinking offence will give police powers to fine, charge and arrest people in public places where alcohol is prohibited. Importantly, this will not stop Territorians from having a beer while enjoying our unique outdoor lifestyle at places like East Point. Community safety is our government's #1 priority, and we are proud to deliver this reform as we promised. Labor ignored police concerns when they watered down the power to deal with public drunkenness in 2019. But these laws will restore that and give them even more power. Police have our full support to do their incredibly important job. These laws are about making our public spaces and parks safer and cleaner for everyone. These powers will allow police to intervene earlier to ensure we stop the scourge in public places when alcohol is prohibited. We want to reduce the harm being caused by alcohol in our community and enforce a higher community standard. Madam Speaker, alcohol has become such a dirty word in the Northern Territory. Territorians have spent the last 8 years being told by Labor that alcohol is bad, very, very bad. Yet they haven't addressed the real issues, which does make it bad. Labor only ever focused on the supply of alcohol, completely ignoring the demand. Territorians hear about the crime statistics, which are broken down into crimes where alcohol is involved and crimes where it is not. And on every measure, crimes where alcohol is involved, the numbers are nearly double of those where alcohol is not a factor. The word alcohol is used as a reason crime occurs, or that people are presented to our hospitals. Alcohol-related harm, alcohol-related hospital presentations, and alcohol-related domestic violence. You see, alcohol has become a dirty word because of the painstakingly obvious effect it can have on some people who consume it. Alcohol can be highly addictive, and too much alcohol can cause changes in behaviour, and it can cause some people to perform acts which are not accepted by anyone's community standards. Here in the Northern Territory, we know alcohol can be blamed for a lot of the crime we're experiencing, and we know people can abuse their bodies by consuming too much with no self-control. What has been missing from any of the conversations you've heard from Labor over the last 8 years is personal responsibility. If you can't handle your grog, then it should be up to you and your family if you need help. Madam Speaker, Australians everywhere else can enjoy an ale responsibly. Of course, there are times when someone intoxicated becomes a problem, and the police and other jurisdictions are there with the powers to deal with it, ensuring that only the person responsible is forced to face the consequence. That is personal responsibility. But here in the Territory, Labor doesn't believe in personal responsibility. They are always trying to blame everyone else for life's problems. Labor removed drinking in public as an offence, so police had less powers, and they closed down alcohol rehabs so people with addictions had less opportunity to set themselves on a new path. Labor imposed a raft of measures on suppliers, focusing wholly and solely on the supply of alcohol. Businesses who legally sell alcohol have been made to feel like they're doing the wrong thing. They were forced by Labor to lock away their products even while open, put additional bollards in front of shop fronts, only open on certain days for limited hours, only sell a certain amount per day or per month. They had to install technology to scan driver's licences, and they had to refuse service if a person couldn't give evidence of where they will be consuming their purchases. Retailers are forced to apply a minimum price for alcohol, regardless of what purposes the purchase is for and whether it's ordered from interstate or locally. Yet there is nothing they can do when the drunks are at their premises causing pain and destruction for their staff and their customers. Madam Speaker, Labor allowed those who consume alcohol irresponsibly to continue their drinking in public places for all to see, hear and experience. Nuisance drunks have shamefully become part of life in the Territory. It's a negative, embarrassing showcase accepted by Labor over 8 years. It has become so negative that our visitors to the Territory or that local buying a six-pack of beer feels shame to purchase, carry and consume the alcohol, even though 99% of these people are law-abiding citizens with every right to purchase alcohol from a law-abiding store who sells alcohol. It has become so obvious in the Territory that drunks can do whatever they like, wherever they like, that often we feature on online images and stories right across the nation. Often the descriptions of such nuisance public drinking involves walking out onto oncoming traffic, fights, domestic violence, screaming profanities at each other or at bystanders. Sometimes it escalates to more dangerous levels, with glass bottles thrown, threats or attacks of bystanders. These drunks leave behind broken glass, bottles, cans and a huge amount of rubbish for someone else to clean up. These drunks end up sleeping their effects off in our parks, on footpaths and dangerously on our roads. They become an out-of-control party of fury for all of us to be afraid of. Drunks often move around using taxis and minibuses, and last year a minibus driver nearing his retirement was attacked by a drunk and was left to undergo major surgery on his broken leg and his jaw. That's just one example of many where drunks have been left to their own devices to cause pain and suffering of Territorians. The lack of action on the demand of alcohol is dangerous, and it has been fatal on too many occasions. And that's why we're delivering our election commitment to address nuisance public drinking and problem drunks who cause antisocial behaviour and alcohol fuel harm. We don't want to have these dangerous situations, and we do not want to have these fatalities. It must be stopped. This is the first step in tackling alcohol demand and the harm it creates. As the Minister responsible for the liquor regulator, along with my colleague, the Minister for Health and Alcohol Policy, we've already commenced the extensive work on a number of key areas, including working with communities around developing social clubs with local control, scrapping the minimum alcohol floor price, which has not reduced alcohol harm, but has simply caused problem drinkers to switch from cask wine to hard spirits. In addition, the Minister for Education and the Minister for Children and Families have been working incredibly hard on addressing the root causes of crime through education and child protection. Madam Speaker, the newly elected CLP government is delivering on its commitment to Territorians to reduce crime by giving police the powers they need to make the community safer. Madam Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.